Although I had committed myself to not watching this show because I am not a Porsha fan, I got wrapped up in all of the nonsense. I heard everybody talking about it, so I had to watch and see what it was about. I didn't watch the beginning, but I saw the episodes where they went on the trip and all of those shenanigans that happened. And last night's episode incensed me again. There is a problem with this woman. And, we joked for seasons about how she's not very smart. The whole Underground Railroad thing and all the little dumb statements that she made. And that's one thing. You can forgive stupidity because clearly she was not raised well. I mean, Mama Diane seems like a nice woman and sweet and stuff like that, but she doesn't seem like she poured a lot into Porsha beyond her looks and her being cute. So I will give you a pass for not being the sharpest tool in the box, but I won't give you a pass for being a messed up person. And we're seeing evidence of this. And that's why I said before, doing this show was the worst thing she ever could have done. It's going to ruin her brand because she's no longer likable. People can like you if you're silly, a little stupid, you're fun, and all this stuff. But the way that you are treating not only Dennis, but treating your family, it's unforgivable. Put aside the fact that you were engaged with Simon after knowing him for 6 months, and you was at the house where you met him through his wife and all that. I'm even going to put that on the shelf. That alone is shady enough. But this thing where you are mistreating your family, and I'm going to use 2 examples from last night's episode. The first is when she was sitting there with her cousin, and her cousin asked her, what's up with this Dennis telling me that you told him to fire me? Here we go with the nonsense. Porsha's main shortcoming is that she does not know how to take accountability for her actions. And this was illustrated in this conversation in so many ways. Number one, she sits there and says, I don't remember. Either you did it or you didn't. And I don't know how you would not remember asking your boyfriend or your fiance to fire your cousin. How is that something you don't remember? That's number one. So instead of just saying, yes, I did it, and explaining why, you say you don't remember. And we all know when somebody says they don't remember, that's a deflection from the truth. Then when that wasn't good enough, she went and she dialed it up a little bit and said, well, why does he feel so comfortable with you to say that to you? So she's basically trying to turn it back on her cousin. And now it's her cousin's fault that Dennis told her that. Again, another deflection, another more evidence of somebody who doesn't know how to take accountability and who's trying to change the subject. And even further, you are the one who brought Dennis around your family. You planned that whole trip where he was dropped into a pool of your family. How do you really think that they were not going to compare notes and have conversations while you weren't there? And you're stupid because if you know you have done some foul things, you would not bring these 2 people together so they could be in a position to compare notes and find out the foul things you did. So this is all, I'm sorry, I'm getting worked up because it's so stupid. This is all a consequence of your own behavior. Then after you decided you weren't going to, that wasn't good enough, then you started turning it back on her again, talking about how she was never there for you. They showed a clip of when she and Cordell were getting divorced and she was crying. And again, this was an executive producer Porsha moment because that clip had absolutely nothing to do with this scene. So because she was crying and upset 8 years ago and her cousin wasn't in that scene, that means that she wasn't there for you. And then when her cousin says, well, I was in college, which makes sense. Porsha, you're the big cousin. You are a grown woman who was going through a divorce. Is it reasonable to think that your cousin who was 18, 19, 20 years old at the time and in the middle of her undergraduate experience would be there for you? You were there with your mother as you should be. Your sister was there for you. Your friends were there for you. Don't sit here and run with this I'm the big cousin thing when it suits you, but then now everybody's supposed to be there for you on your level when you are making it seem as if y'all aren't on the same level to begin with. And then when her cousin says I was in college, she said, well, you didn't want to be around me just as much as I didn't want to be around you. Like she was just throwing everything against the wall and hoping something would stick. She's not even good at this. Like, she's not a good liar. She's not a good manipulator. She sucks. And it's so transparent. And then when that didn't go well, she goes off camera and she rants and raves in the background to the point production has to tell her to go back out and speak to her cousin. And then she switches it all again and starts, boo-hooing and rubbing on her and telling her how much she loves her and she's here for her and she's her big cousin. Like, that whole scene was a mess. And, her cousin will probably stay in her life because they're family, because she sees the bigger picture. But Porsha is the type of person that you just want to create distance from, because she's never going to get it. She's never going to change. And as long as she is able to meet men like Simon, who will tell her what she wants to hear and support her financially and maintain this lavish lifestyle she has no reason to change, because she's constantly being reinforced. And after Simon leaves her, there'll be some other dummy with money who will take her for a time. The next scene that was really troubling for me was when she was sitting down with Dennis and they were talking about Pilar and, this co-parenting situation. And she refused to tell him where in Atlanta she was moving. When he asked her where, number one, you can understand why Dennis felt a way about the fact that she was moving back to Atlanta when that was such a big issue of contention between them, when she was living in Duluth and he was in Atlanta and she didn't want to move into the city. Now she's willing to move into the city. Why? Because Simon is probably going to buy a bigger house than Dennis either was willing to or could afford. I'm not sure. But now you're willing to move into Atlanta because you're going to get this big lavish mansion. So of course Dennis felt a way about that, because that was a sticking point in your previous relationship. And then when he asks you where, you say you don't want to tell him. Clearly you know where. You said you closed. Why won't you tell this man where you live? He's going to be there at some point. You guys are co-parenting. Like, you're only doing that to be messy, to needle him, to make him upset. It's so childish. It's clear she's still in love with this man. It's clear she still wants him. We saw all of that on the trip. But now you're taking it to another level because you are you're allowing your childish ways to impact how you parent your child. And that's not okay. And that's why I was happy when Dennis was like, let's just go to court. Let's just go ahead and get some papers filed and signed, and so we're all clear and we're all on the same page. So he is involved in the decision making of what school she goes to, her medical care, her travel, all of that stuff, because he does have a right to that, because he is her father. And then she tries at the end talking about, what do you pay for besides her school? Porsha, stop. There's nothing. Dennis doesn't give anything to make us think that he is not a provider, that he's a deadbeat, anything like that. Don't tell me for a minute that he's cutting you short and he's not giving you checks and he's not paying for things. Please, 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 please. Money does not seem to be an issue in any of your households. And if you are paying for more things, it's only as a byproduct of the fact that she lives with you a majority of the time. And she's also 2. So let's stop talking about like we're paying for tennis lessons and ski trips and all this other stuff. He's paying for her school, her daycare, whatever. You're feeding her on a daily basis. You're buying her clothes. I'm sure he's buying her clothes as well. Stop. Do not try to liken yourself to a single mother out here who's struggling. That's insulting. And then, of course, when she can't win this conversation, what does she do? She storms out. She's an infant. She is an infant. And I'm just so disappointed in her. I hate that she is putting out this persona that's making other women believe that it's okay to behave like that. I hate that she has all these yes men around her who just tell her what she wants to hear. I am happy that Aunt Liz is in the picture, because Aunt Liz keeps it real, and Aunt Liz is doing what Diane should be doing. And keeping her consistent and keeping her honest. But her mother's not going to do that for her, because obviously Porsha became who she is as a product of Diane's upbringing, or parenting, I should say. So anyway, that's it. I just had to rant a little bit because that episode was just ridiculous for me. I'm glad that it's over. It probably will be renewed for a second season because it was messy as hell, and we all do love a good mess. But Porsha really needs to do some reflection. I hope she sits and watches this season and really sees how she presents herself in society and realizes that she needs to do some soul searching and changing. And that's all I got. Like and subscribe and share. And yeah, I'll talk to you later.